dear ladies and gentlemen, I do share the feeling of Haver Knesset Halevi that speaking after the Ambassador Huckabee is a real challenge. However, I'll try to, may I ask to reduce a little bit the light upon the eyes, if it's possible. אם אפשר להחליש קצת את הזוג מנורות הללו, זה פשוט מפריע. אם אפשר. Ladies and gentlemen, how long do I have to speak? $50? You know, professors usually are used to speak in segments of an hour and a half. My limit is the morning prayer. Okay, let's start to be a little bit serious. The Middle East, which is the region which we live in, is divided roughly to two kinds of states. All of them speaking Arabic, but there is a big difference between one group and the other group. The one group is a failing states or failed states. Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Sudan, Yemen, Libya. Jordan might join these problematic countries. Let's say that this is the failing states. And there are other states which are very successful. Is there a way to reduce the... Thank you. The other group of states, very successful states, Kuwait, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Sultanate of Oman, Bahrain to a large extent, and 7 Emirates united in the United Arab Emirates. They are all sovereign, they are united like the European Union, more or less. So altogether, 12 countries, very successful. Life in these countries, in spite of the heat, is like in heaven. And the question is, why are those failures while these are successes? Some would say, of course, because of the oil which they have in the Gulf. Wrong. Iraq has a lot of oil, and it is a hell on earth with oil. The same as Libya. Hell of a lot of oil, hell on earth. Yemen and Sudan also were exporting oil, hell on earth. While on the other side, we find a very successful country, Dubai, who has no oil and no gas, and it's heaven on earth. So evidently, it's not the oil. If the oil was the reason, Dubai would be a hell on earth, and Iraq and Sudan and Libya would be a heaven on earth. But it's not the situation, it's totally opposite. So what is the element which makes these countries successes and those failures? And the answer is sociology. All the failing states are conglomerates of ethnic groups like Arabs, Kurds, Turkmens, Armenians, and in North Africa you have Berbers, clans, or whatever, some people with tribes. I prefer clans, which is more the same thing. Sharply divided to clans. Religions, there are, in the failing states, you can find that each and every one has some religions. Muslims, Christians. In Syria, you have Alawites and Druze, and Yazidis in Iraq, Shubaks in Iraq. In Iraq, there are like 10 religions: Sabais, Mandais, Zoroastrians, and more. And sectarian groups: Shia, Sunnah, in the Islamic side of the equation, all kinds of denominations within the Christians and so forth. And each and every one of the failing states is comprised of many groups which traditionally do not live in peace with each other. They carry long years, I'm talking about centuries, of massacres, especially in Lebanon, between the Druze and the Christians, and in many places as well. Arabs and Kurds, Sunna and Shia, and the whole history of these groups is full of corpses or heads of people who are running in the streets without the bodies. So this is the failing states. The modern state, which was established by, lo and behold, Britain and France mainly, Italy in the Libyan case, they marked countries regardless of the population and merged together groups which are rivalry groups like Arabs and Turkmens and Yazidis and Muslims and Christians and Sunnah and Shia. They couldn't care less about these people, merge them together and let them live, even if they don't live with each other, let them kill each other, where the world will be safer. This is how you, more or less, the colonialists, how they related to the population. They couldn't care less about that. And this is actually what happens. The state, the modern state in these countries is a failure, because it tries all the time to impose the state idea on everybody, on all the groups, while the groups resent it and the groups are against it, because everyone wants to remain what he was, Sunnah or Shia or Kurdish or Arab. Why should they all adopt one idea of the state and the state law? Well, they have their own laws from the religions. And this how the state, like in Syria and Iraq, became the enemy of the people, because the state has one agenda and all the groups under the state, each and everyone has his own agenda. The successful states, each and every one of them is one single group, belongs to one single group. Kuwait belongs to a family named Al-Sabah. Al is a separate word, it means family, extended family, clan. Al-Sabah is the family which Kuwait belongs to. Qatar belongs to Al-Thani, who are all the positions, or the important positions. Dubai belongs to Al-Maktoum, while Abu Dhabi belongs to Al-Nahyan, and Saudi Arabia belongs to Al-Saud. Means that when a state belongs to one family or one extended family, it's a normal state, stable state. Nobody fights with anybody else. Why fight? If they have some differences, they go to the sheikh, the leader of the place, and they come, tell him whatever they tell him. He said, you're right, you're wrong, you pay him, you pay, he pays you. That's how things are being finished, and all the struggles are being finished in a very peaceful way. And they actually are based on the tradition of the clan, which is the most powerful tradition in the Middle East. And this is why the states are legitimate. You know, there are no elections in the Gulf. Have you ever heard about elections in Dubai? They don't have elections. You know why? They don't need elections. They have leadership, a real leadership. Leadership which cares for the people. Leadership which comes from the people. Leadership which doesn't impose itself on the people, because they are natural leaders. And this is why the clan system in the Middle East is the best way how to run these societies, because it's actually, there is a total matching between the culture of the people and the kind of state. and where there's a matching between the state and the people, the state is legitimate, nobody tries to shake the boat, everybody is cooperating with everybody else for the good of everybody. So if they have oil like Abu Dhabi and Kuwait, they are rich because of the oil. If they don't have oil, they are cooperating in business, and this is why Dubai is rich without oil. Iraq, when everybody fights each other because of different Sunni and Shia, different sects, different religions, different ethnic groups, and different tribes, the state is a failure. And this is actually the idea why, or the answer to the question why the Middle East is so sharply divided between successful states and failing states. 25 years ago, more or less after I was released from the army, I started to deal with Arab societies in the academic sphere. I was a member of the faculty at Bar Ilan University. And the question of how to maybe approach the Israeli-Palestinian problem started to bother me. And once I realized the difference between the failing and the successful states, I said, okay, let's see what the Palestinian or the so-called Palestinian society, how does it look like? Is it individual society like the Israeli, so you can develop nationalism based on individualism, as it is in the West? Or is it clannish society, which might be better arranged as the Gulf Emirates? And very quickly I found out that if you tell me the name of somebody who lives in Judea and Samaria, it was in Gaza until the war actually dispersed all the clans, but in Judea and Samaria, where the clan system still is alive and kicking, in some cases alive and killing, but usually it's alive and kicking, means alive. If you tell me the name of somebody, family name, I'll tell you where he lives. If his name is Jabri, or Kawasme, or Nache, or Tamimi, or Abu Stena, he lives in Hebron. If his name is Masri, or Tukan, or Shaka, he lives in Nablus. If his name is Baruthi, or Abu Ain, or Tawil, he lives in Ramallah. If his name is Karmi, he lives in Tulkarem. And if his name is Arikat, he lives in Jericho. Means, since every clan lives in its compound, and this is the homeland in their definition, the homeland is not between Metula and Elat. The homeland is the clan. Once you go out from the clan and you settle in other place, which belongs to another clan, you live in exile. This is their mindset. So, therefore, since they live in family or clan compounds, you can very easily locate people according to their names. Okay, so this is how it works. So, I started to speak to people, local people. I started in Hebron, about the possibility to establish an emirate in Hebron, actually to emulate the paradigm of the Gulf Emirates to these societies. Why should we create a whole state based on them all, and which will finish like Syria? And I wrote on Syria my PhD, and I knew exactly the problems. I wrote it already in the 90s, and in the PhD I already foresaw. I didn't know when it will happen, but the dismemberment of this country as we see today, it was more than clear that someday it will come. It was clear. I didn't know when, but I was more than sure that it will come, because it cannot, because the state is illegitimate in the eyes of the population, or most of the population. So in order to create a legitimate entities, these entities have to correspond with the population. And the emirate paradigm does it the best way. So I started to negotiate with the clans of Hebron, with the sheikhs of Hebron, the leaders of the clans. And all the questions were only about technical issues, how they can import and export from Ashdod harbor. And those days, the terminal number 1 in Ben Gurion Airport was abandoned, and the mice were bigger than the cats. So the chief of Hebron, the Sheikh Farid al-Jabri, when I sat with him, it was 2011, he said, I want Terminal 1, you use Terminal 3, and I will clean it, and I will use it for my emirate. Where is the problem? Okay, all his questions were about technical issues. How do I get to Jerusalem? How do I get to Jordan? How do I get to Ashdod, Ben Gurion? These were his questions. He never had anything in principle against the Emirate of Hebron. Everything was about technical issues. He passed away like a year and a half ago, and his son replaced him in many issues. And 3 weeks ago, the Wall Street Journal published a whole article about this Emirate of Hebron, which some sheikhs want to establish. And immediately, the Palestinian Authority got totally outraged, because it means that if we establish an emirate in Hebron, another one in Nablus, another one in Ramallah, another one in Jericho, in the cities of Judea and Samaria, while Israel remains forever in the rural areas and spreads its sovereignty over these areas between the river and the sea, Israel will be free, and these emirates are enclaves within this space. This way, Israel actually sets free some 85% of the population, because we keep the rural areas with the villagers, and Israel can offer them Israeli citizenship in a process, maybe. So this is actually the idea. Emirates in Judea and Samaria, 7 emirates in the cities of Judea and Samaria. Israel remains in the rural areas. Israel is in charge of security of the envelope, of the whole place, while they are responsible for security inside the city itself with guns, small guns. Many questions can be answered, but this is the plan. Wikipedia talks about this, and many other. Once I tried to dedicate a whole website for this, but for some unknown reason it didn't work. But the minister, Nir Barkat, Minister of Economy, already adopted this idea some 5 years ago, and we held in his home discussions with the sheikhs of Hebron, and he is wholeheartedly behind this idea in order to push it forward. Netanyahu knows about this. Israel Katz, the Minister of Defense, knows about this. Yet the government now has to decide to divert its correspondence from the PA to the clans. And this is a revolution, because Israel, for 32 years since the PA was established, is used to 31 years. Is used to work with the PA in every aspect, economy, security in some cases, but the PA actually pays for slay. Why should we resuscitate it? Why should we keep it? We don't need this. And they are actually suing us in all kinds of courts all over the world, and they are those who are behind the incitement against Israel. So definitely, this was a very bad deal to establish the PA, while at least the Emirate of Hebron wants to join the Abraham Accords. And this is what we are planning for the coming weeks in order to divert the government's correspondence from the PA to Hebron. It needs American support, and we have it. It needs European understanding, which they don't have. If they understood something in the Middle East, they wouldn't create such atrocities like Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, and all these countries, which were all created by Britain and France. Why? Britain, I must say, Britain learns from its mistakes. They created Iraq already in the early 20s of the previous century, and they understood that they made a big mistake by creating such a conglomerate which cannot function. So when they went out of the Gulf during the 60s into the 70s, they left emirates behind them, and these emirates are much better functioning much better than Iraq as a conglomerate of states. And this, the British do learn from their mistakes, and the result is the Gulf Emirates. To some, if you hear in the near future that Hebron will start with this, but other cities as well, because if it will be successful in Hebron, most of the cities in Judea, the Arab cities in Judea and Samaria, will follow in Hebron's footsteps. I have no idea, because everybody hates the PA. The PA resembles, or it is no more than an employer. It is not any fulfillment of any dream, corrupt to its bones, and many hate the PA, and they don't rebel only because they are afraid that Hamas will take over, and Hamas, they are much more afraid. And because Hamas will lead them to a situation like Gaza. So, especially now, they understand the problem with Hamas, and this is why the Emirate solution actually came to that. But one thing I must conclude. The Palestinian state, which unfortunately there are people who are advocating for, will turn into a Hamas state, inevitably. How do I know? Hamas have already won the elections to the Legislative Council of the Palestinian Authority in January 2006. It can repeat itself. And if it repeats itself after the state is being declared, it will be a Hamas state by elections. And we all remember what happened in June 2007 when Hamas took Gaza over by force. This can repeat itself also. So either by elections or by force, then the Palestinian state, which France and Britain and many other countries want to establish, will inevitably turn into a Hamas state. Who with the right mind will agree to such a thing? Therefore, means the clans, are afraid of this thing, so they are now trying to push forward the solution of the Emirates instead of the Palestinian state. Now, the ball is the court of the Israeli government, and if the Israel government will be pushed to divert its correspondence from the PA to the clans, this will be the real Emirate solution. Thank you so much.
If you are not yet a subscriber to our daily, belief-based, inspiring, politically incorrect, truthful videos about Israel, the Jewish people, and the freedom-loving world, what are you waiting for? Go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe today. And yes, we are a donor-based operation. We need your donations for support in order to make these videos and get our videos seen and do all the work we do. So every once in a while, whether a large donation or a small donation, just go to pulseofisrael.com and click on the donate button. Shalom, everyone, and thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.